Today, we're going to be installing this heavy-duty air spring kit from Torque Parts into my 2019 Silverado 3500 HD.
We're going to show you step by step how to install these airbags, all of the parts, and where they go.
After we get this all installed, we're going to take you along for a test drive. Let's get this box from Torque USA open and check out our new airbag suspension kit. Let's see what's in the box. Installation manual, got some air hoses, the important part. Oh, nice. They sent us some extra goodies.
Wow, that's heavy.
Well, they hold a vacuum, so we know they're going to hold air. Right off the bat, these look pretty beefy. The rubber's nice and thick on these, and they have an external ribbing, which should help with support as well. This airbag suspension kit is rated for 7,000 pounds, so I wouldn't expect anything less than some pretty heavy-duty steel. Now that we have everything out of the box, we obviously have our airbags, we have our instruction, we've got plenty of 1/4 inch airline that they give us. Got our whole bag of goodies, it's got all our air fittings in here. In this bag, they give us the tubing cutter. So you're not fighting a razor blade trying to get clean cuts, because when you install these airbags, one of the most important things that you're gonna have to pay attention to is getting a clean cut on the end of your air hose so it doesn't leak. We picked up one of these brass T-fittings for our 1/4 inch line so we can convert them into one single feed line. The first thing we have to do to install our airbag suspension kit in this 2019 Silverado 3500 is prep the truck. So we're going to go ahead, get the back wheels off the ground and get the wheels off so we can give you a better view. So behind our spring pack is our jounce, and this is where the top part's going to go for our mount. So we need to go ahead and remove the jounce. Now we're going to build the upper mount assembly. We're going to take one of our plates. So we've got a 7/32 Allen head on these, and we're also going to need a 9/16 box wrench for our bolts on the other side. And don't tighten these down yet at this point. It's okay to snug them up, and these are lock nuts, but the instructions make very clear to tell you not to tighten at this point. I'm sure we're going to end up doing some adjustments once we get this on the truck. All right, both of these guys are still loose so they can move around. Next, wants us to put these bolts in here. So we're gonna put these carriage bolts in. So when that all tightens down, it'll clamp around where that joust was. We found our first discrepancy. Some of these, I feel like are bent just a little too far or just not enough. And you may have to do a little mix and match on what fits better with what, because that hole right there has to fit into there. So our big nut has to go on there, and you still need to be able to have room to tighten it down.
So you took one of these from the pile.
Yes.
To make sure you found one that would work with the nut.
Yep, and you can kind of see on there, these are kind of bent just a little different. These are all the same part number, so we'll see. Now we're gonna do a test fit and make sure this bracket fits where it needs to go. So now that we've done our test fit, we've established that the hardware isn't long enough. These carriage bolts just don't thread down enough to tighten it all the way. It almost looks like these were overbent when they made them. It's starting to look a little better. Well, it already squares it up with the frame. So I think these are just overbent. Let's try bending the second one and put this back together. So we've got this put back together now after we bent our brackets a little bit. Let's put it on for another test fit and see how it goes. Let's snug these down all the way and see if this fixed our problem. So long story short on this one, if you find that your two shoulder bolts are just a little bit too long, you need to tweak the brackets on here. So we're gonna need to bend them out like we did, and that'll fix your problem of your hardware not being long enough. Normally when you get these are gonna be nice and compressed, but if you can't leave things alone like we can, we went ahead and unscrewed this and it let all the air back in there. So now, we're going to push all the air out and tighten that back down to aid with the install.
Up next, we're going to test fit the air spring with the lower bracket and see how it all fits under there.
It also makes note in the instructions of our alignment pin needs to line up with our middle hole. So when we put the airbag into the bracket on the truck, that pin needs to be in the middle hole. Now we're going to take one of our small Allens and we'll tighten that down in there. You will notice when this Allen bolt's bottomed out all the way in the bottom of our air spring, it's not all the way tight, but that's by design, so this can move a little bit. Let's take it underneath the truck and see if it all fits.
We partnered with Torque Parts to make this video for you guys today.
That's right, and Torque Parts also manufactures airbags for semi-trucks that can weigh in excess of 80,000 pounds.
And they make airbags for pickup trucks too. We'll drop an affiliate link down in the video description so you guys can check out Torque Parts for yourself.
And don't forget, all these parts ship from AftermarketUS. Beautiful. Let's line that up. Gotta reach back there and let a little more air into our airbag. And it is in the top position. We've got our exhaust heat shield, and that just kind of sits in there. I know it's kind of hard to see under there, but let me recap what we just did. We've got our airbag smushed down because we need it as thin as we can to wedge it in between the two brackets. So once we got the main stud in there, we needed the airbag to come up so it aligns the nipple with the hole. We just slowly let some of the air out. That way it just rises up on its own. The way that we found worked best was to use a little bit of sketchiness in there so we could lift the body up just a little bit off of that axle and everything slid in a lot easier. But don't worry, this was at least 11% safe. So in the instructions, it does address the brake line and how to route the hooks, but it doesn't really address the parking brake cable, so we're gonna see what we can do with that. That breeze is nice and hot. We're gonna have to readjust for that bracket. Now for the cable on the emergency bracket is right where we need to be. So we're gonna take this off and see what we can do with it. I don't know if that's dumb luck or if this is designed to work that way, but either way, I think we're gonna take that. Let's check the back side. Now we're gonna get our bottom bracket all snugged up. Let's do the other side as well. So it was really hard to see under there, but when we're attaching the hook mounts to that bottom plate, they just go right underneath of that spring pad on the bottom, and they hook onto there, and you just run that bolt up and tighten it down. We have 4 bolts left to secure the airbag top mount, so let's go ahead and tighten those up. And unfortunately, due to the limitations on these, air tools are not gonna be possible.
Looks like he's going to get a workout.
So we thought we'd give you guys just a sneak peek. This is what the entire unit looks like once it's been assembled. It's got the S-hooks in the bottom plate, all of our top hardware on there, and that's how it all goes. And when you go to tighten up the big nut, it's kind of slow going because that's all the range that you have is just that little bit in there. But it is a 1 1/8, so get cranking. So now we're gonna get this big nut tightened up, and it's got a ways to go. All right, we've got this side buttoned up. All we have left to do over here is run the air lines, but we need to get the other side installed first. So we've learned the lessons. We've already corrected the bracket geometry on this, and we've squished it a little bit. So that fixed the arch in this, and they fit much better on here. So we're gonna go ahead, get these installed, tighten them all down, and tighten everything down, and then put the airbag in this time. If you're having a hard time fitting your top bracket into any of these spots where the jounce was, make sure that your parking brake is off. Because if you have tension on that cable, you can't move it around. We're gonna secure the top bracket and go ahead and get all these bolts tightened up. Now we're gonna do the same thing. We've got this one squished back down. Now it's time to put it in. And there's much more room on this side. Perfect. We're gonna go ahead and put the S-bars in, and we're doing the same thing on this side as we did on the other. All right, that one's started. And we're gonna do the same thing. We got that bar up and or that Z-bar up in there. Make sure it's nice and flush. We tighten it down. Now let's get the impact and we'll tighten these up. All right, now we are putting the big nut on the top of this.
So you are able to get a socket on there.
On this side, for sure. The next item to check off the list is install our air fittings and our air lines. All the air fittings that we're gonna use today are just simple push connect air fittings. And if something happens and you need to get the line back out, this collar comes up. So you're gonna push that collar down and pull the line back out. These install inside of that threaded stem that we put the big nut on to hold the airbag. These just go right inside there. We've already wrapped these in Teflon tape. So we're gonna go ahead and install these right into here. Our air fittings in here good and tight. That shouldn't cause us any leaks. Let's move on to the other side.
Here is our plan with the air lines. We have our 2 airbags, passenger and driver. We're gonna run an air line from passenger up over the fuel tank to a T. And then we'll do the driver over to the T. And then we'll run a line from the T to the fill valve.
And wait till we show you where we're gonna put the fill valve.
All right, we have switched to phone cam because I think it's gonna work better under the truck running airline. I hear it. Oh, I see it. There it is.
All right, well, we're putting our heat insulation on here because this is the part that's going to run by the exhaust.
And that just pushes right down on there. Nice.
So now we're going to use some zip ties and zip tie them to the exhaust hangers on the cross member to keep everything tucked up out of the way. Getting as much crud in our eyes as possible. This would be a great time for safety glasses. So yet again, 11% safe. This is all secure. Now I'm going to pull it tight from the other side and we'll finish zip tying it and attach it on the other side of the cross member. All right, we've got a good spot up here. We're going to cut the line for the T. Ooh. Now that that one's in, let's run this line forward. Then we'll run it right back to the same spot. And that'll go right there. So we've got one end of our line here. We're going to cut this one off, plumb our T, and then we're going to route it up to the filler neck for the gas tank, fuel tank, because somebody will have a stroke that I said it's a gas tank. Both sides are in the T-fitting, and now we just need to run our line up to where we're going to put our fill port. It's on there good and tight. Let's put it up in there.
Oh, there we go. Right, he's got some soap, spraying all the fittings. We're really hoping we have no leaks.
T-fitting, no leaks. Input line, no leaks. Airbag 1, no leaks. Airbag 2, no leaks. This has a minimum pressure rating of 5 psi. I think that's a little low, so we're gonna start at 15 and see if we can get away with that. All of our airlines are all hooked up. Everything's installed. We're gonna go ahead and put the wheels back on this and set it on the ground, air up our system, and go for a test drive. So this is our, not a Makita, air pump that takes our Makita 18-volt batteries. We got this on Amazon, and I'm pretty curious to see how it does.
Can you set the pressure?
Yep. We picked this up on Amazon, and it was under 40 bucks. So this will work pretty well for our air ride system, and it's good for flat tires. So we're gonna keep this in the truck. If you'd like to check one out, we'll give you an affiliate link below. And the other cool feature of this too, is it comes with a cable, and it can plug into a 12-volt cigarette lighter. So if you don't have your battery, you can still use your pump. So you will notice we did put the filler valve inside of the fuel door on this truck. And my logic behind this was, one, it's out of the way and I don't have to worry about anything happening to it. And two, you're always going to be able to get somewhere with your truck and your trailer that you can get fuel. If you're somewhere that you can get fuel, you definitely will be able to get somewhere that you can get air. Versus on the back of your trunk, in between a trailer, doesn't sound like a good time. What do you guys think about that? Leave me a comment below. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so we're out on our test drive. We've set our airbags at 15 pounds. They give you a minimum of 5 pounds. It's a different kind of ride going over the bumps for sure. It's more of a bounce in the back at 15 pounds. That might have been ambitious. This road's got some pretty good dips in it, so this should be a decent test to see how these airbags handle empty. And I'm not expecting a miracle out of these. It's still a 1-ton truck. It has a stiff suspension, but the ride wasn't bad before.
Again, we are riding around with 15 pounds in that system. We're gonna drop the system back down to 5, and we're gonna see where we are with that. But let's see some bumps here. How fast you're going?
Too fast.
25?
25.
25. Okay.
I expected worse. I think there's room for improvement. Now we're gonna air our system down to 5 pounds and see how it does. But first, we're at our favorite gas station, and we're gonna get a celebratory root beer, because that's what you do. So we're gonna use our approved air removal device.
Setting it for 5.
Let's go 6. All right, we're leaving Maverick. We've got our celebratory root beer, and I'm so confident in this 5 pounds, I'm not putting my cap back on.
Okay, we really have 6, but who's counting? We're gonna go 25 miles an hour. Oh,
6 pounds feels just like it did without the airbags. That is for sure.
All right, let's hit these other bumps. That's better than 15.
Yeah, it is.
We're planning a complete performance review video for these airbags over on Fred Jr.'s channel, Fred Jr.'s Garage.
We're gonna hook up our 10,000 pound camper to this truck and take it all the way to Cedar Mountain in Utah so we can do some performance testing for you.
When we're finished with that video, we'll put a link to it right here.
Thanks for watching. Did I mention it's hot today?
You have a thermometer?
It says it's 98.